Or is my voice that strong? It's my voice, right? Okay. This is nice. And hope you guys are all fed and full. This is called the graveyard shift. I don't know if you guys know that. Yeah. So let me see if I can pick up the energy, right? My energy levels were low this morning because yesterday evening, so I did what I shouldn't have done, which is to go out and, I think I slept at 2 and I was in a different town. So it's been a hard one for me. But guys, my name is Lunga Siyo. I'm the CEO of Telkom Consumer Small Business. And I'll share my story. It's going to be as personal as it can. So I'm not going to give you slides like on an MBA class, right? Strategy, blue ocean, this and that, and so on. But just what it could potentially take for anyone, right, who wants to assume to the top, right? And there isn't a template, right? But let's see how far I'm going to go. Maybe just to break the ice, who in this room wants to be a CEO? Okay, just keep it up. For those that think they know what it actually costs, please keep your hand up still. There's quite a lot of you. I'm sure you guys are already CEOs, right? And I guess just keep it up for a while. I just want to make sure I make a mental note of, it's almost like 30% of the room, right? But I guess everyone's story is different, right? And that's what I'll share today. And let's see how far we go with it. And maybe I'll start with, did I actually ever wanted to become one? And people usually ask me that as well, right? And maybe just before I go there, just to give a little bit of context of how Telkom looks like, right? So it's a group of 3 companies right now. So I'm the CEO of the consumer mobile business. That's consumer facing, but we also look after small businesses and enterprises, selling largely mobile in the prepaid, postpaid space, fiber into your house as well. And there's OpenServe, which builds the infrastructure across the country. You guys might have seen the vans, so we own them. It's close to 200,000 kilometers of fiber. We actually have fiber to the closest point of presence within 5 kilometers. So we can pull it into any house if you wanted to, but that's not always the case, right? Because these things have to be monetized. Not everyone wants to pay for it. Right? And then we've got another business called BCX, which is a system integrator. So there's 3 businesses. So I'm one of the CEOs there. And they sort of stand alone. So everyone must wash his own face. So the group guys, just a few guys, they say, here's the money, you go and make money, wash your own face, don't ask us for money. We don't have money. So, and that's what I do, right? So people always ask me, did you always ever wanted to become one? And the answer is, not really. I never set out to become one. And I'll tell you my story, right, how I started. So I went to school like everyone else. I was born and bred in the Eastern Cape. It's not rural, it's not dusty streets. Sorry guys. It's green because it rains a lot, right? So when we played football, even in the poorest areas, it's always green, right? So that's where I grew up, and I studied in Cape Town. And earlier on, they asked me, what is it that I would have changed, right? And I said I would have stayed in school much longer because I rushed to get to work, right? And there's usual pressures that, if you're first child, you must work, support others, blah, 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 the story. But I think I could have stayed longer as well. And just personally, and there's no science behind that. I feel tired. I think I've been working for more than 20 years. I wish I could take a break for 5 years and then go back, but it doesn't always work that way, right? So I never wanted to become one. I started out at BP. I don't know if you guys know BP. The petrol station is a large multinational organization headquartered in London, and we're based in Cape Town, South Africa. And we looked after the entire continent. So we're operating in around, I think, 20 countries. South Africa was the largest market in terms of retail, but most of the oil came out of Angola. And that's where the most money is made. I think for me, BP was like a corporate university for me, if I go back and look at what we did there. It was like a corporate university. The first thing they told us was, you got your degree. The only thing that it tells us is that you are teachable. You have no skill, no competency as yet. Maybe you do know accounting. I did finance, right? So I could do IFRS. I think it was Gap then, or IAS, and I could read financials, and that was about it, right? But could I tell you what it actually means? I think I thought I knew. So there was a young lady then, she's much older these days, Denise Ojil. She took a chance on me. She took a chance on me. I didn't know much. I thought I knew it all because of my grades, but I didn't know much. She sat me down and said, listen, I trust you, and I think you got this. And she left, like literally, she left. Didn't see her for a week 2. So I had to figure it out, right, in the organization. I had a handover, and the guy was doing the handover as well, was rushing to leave because he wanted to take some time before he starts his new job. And I had to learn quickly and run with it. And I think for me, what was impactful about that moment is that someone took a chance on me and said, you've got this. And the penny dropped for me that, shit, I better not fuck it up. Sorry to those who go to church, for my language. I better not F it up. And I learned as quickly as I could. And I think for me, the other lesson that I could reflect on, there was a guy called Ken, very old English white male from Scotland. And he had come to South Africa with BP to do some work, and the wife and the kids loved the culture, the language, the weather. I think it was the weather mostly, and decided to stay on. So he was about to retire. He sat me down at some point and said, listen, I like your energy. I think you can go far, but take pride in what you do. Take pride in your work. It starts by the email that you're writing. Email etiquette is very important. Stop sending emails to all. Who is all? Talk to me. Tell me what's your problem, and tell me what you expect of me, and by when. Short and sweet. I'm not talking to everyone. So take pride in what you do, the quality of your work. That time I was an analyst. He says, go and automate as much as you can with your reports so that you can spend the entire day analyzing the data and have insights and tail management, what's really happening in the business so that they can make informed decisions. Right now, you're sending them reports. You're expecting them to analyze them and get the insights when it's your job. So take pride in what you do. Learn what's expected of you and make sure you give it your best. So that was Ken. And that stayed with me for a while. The last one was with someone else at BP again. He said to me, whenever you give an opportunity, don't F it up, because you owe it to that person to do well. So that was my BP experience, right? Much earlier in life. And there was a guy called Trevor Ely. I remember everyone who helped me, because I was in finance and I transitioned into a commercial role. And Trevor was an auditor who also transitioned into a commercial role. So he was the regional sales manager. Now, I don't know if you guys know, you don't go to school for sales, right? There's no sales degree. I think you get marketing, but there's no sales degree. And he said to me, listen, commercial roles, you have to look into what I call transferable skills, right? What have you learned from where you were, and what can you transfer into this role? And what can you transfer into this role is numbers. You know numbers better than anyone. The bagger next to you is a proper salesperson. He'll sell anything to anyone for next to nothing, including give away the entire discount structure. You have to help him strike commercial deals. He'll help you with what is account management, which is selling. Looked after a portfolio of petrol stations. And he gave me a chance as well. He said that, and then he also left as well. So I've had many people give me a lot of pep talks and then leaving me to figure it out. But what worked in those situations is really figuring out what's happening, feed off the people that you work with, bring something to the table, they'll bring something, and if they like what you're bringing, it usually works very well. Because you're not competing. If you compete, it always goes south, and both of you lose in most instances. So that's what Trevor did for me. And then I left BP, joined MTN, and I'm not going to say much, because they are my competitor these days. But I really enjoyed my time with them. They were going through a phase where they were making so much money without lifting a finger. So when I got there, we actually have to lift a finger and actually start doing something to keep on customers and acquire market share and all of those nice things. So it was a nice experience because it was completely different, not in the old space, in the telco space, fast-growing industry, under pressure because the market was saturated. That was pre-2010, before there was a 2010 World Cup. After 2010, everything went south because the market was saturated. So I don't know how many of you guys know how many mobile customers we have in South Africa for a population of 60 million people. It's close to 120 million SIM cards that are owned by people in South Africa that are active at any stage. So people are multi-SIMmed. Now, how do you grow in a multi-SIMmed environment? And if you don't know how to do that because you've never seen it before, it's difficult to figure it out. And that was my MTN experience. I really loved it. I then left them and I joined Santam, which was a financial services organization. And once again, I was running physical channels, like the stores, the MTN stores across the country, and I was given an e-commerce role. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what you want me to do. I've never done e-commerce in my life. And it was a conversation in Cape Town, by the way, at 7 a.m. So these guys flew me down, and I flew the day before just to make sure I prepare. You know the usual interview questions. I get there, there's the CEO, the CIO, and the Chief Distribution Officer, and they all looked at me and said, tell us more about e-commerce. I said, I've been running physical channels, so I'm sure I can figure something out, but I don't know. They're like, okay, we're like, where is this going? And then we started having conversations. And they gave me an opportunity. They said, for this opportunity, you got to fly to Cape Town and live there. If you've got a family and all your extra girlfriends, get rid of the extra girlfriends, bring your wife and kids only, live in Cape Town, because we're giving you a huge responsibility. That ran into 300 million a year in investment. And I was young. They gave me that opportunity. I ran with it, moved to Cape Town. Eventually, we didn't like Cape Town. We moved back to Joburg, and I joined Standard Bank, which was also completely different. But today, I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about which was most interesting experience, right? So I've gone through these companies, but this was one call that I definitely said no to. So I was in Standard Bank. Who's in banking? Anyone in banking? Okay, you're the only one, right? So my experience when I was there, I think the bank ran itself, in spite of all of us were there. And how do I know it? I'll take leave for a week or two and nothing will break. Because I was running internet banking, right? So everything worked. And actually that's a good space to be at, in your own job as well today. If you can take leave for a few days and nothing breaks, you've done a good job. You always have to do such a good job that you can work yourself out of the job. If you go sick and everyone is still calling you, I promise you, you're not doing a good job. And sooner or later, someone is going to figure that out, and they're going to make plans around you. And it's also called redundancies, right? When they run Section 189s, not because they want to cut, but they also want to get rid of those that like to fortify themselves with their jobs, right? So when I got this call, I was happy and I was sitting at home, and the executive search agent said to me, listen, I've got a huge role for you, very important one. It's actually a CEO role. I said, what? Me? Are you sure you took me to the right person? They said, yeah. Are you Lunga Siyo? I said, yeah, Lunga Mandila Siyo, because there's a lot more. I said, yeah, you. Can I read your ID number? She read. It's like, okay, that's me. So first thing was, because I'd never thought I was ready, right, to get into that role. So I'd made plans in my life where I said, you know what, when I started seeing myself moving up, right, I got to senior manager when I was at MTN. I was like, actually, maybe let me start planning as to what's next for me. Where am I going to land? How old I am, right? So my plan was, when I get to 35, I want to report to someone who sits on Exco. When I get to 40, maybe at Exco. Doesn't matter how big the organization, could be small or what, right? And then, maybe I can write it out for the last 20 years because I don't know what happens after, right? So I was thinking CEO. So when the call came, I said, okay, cool, which company? And she said, Yellow Pages. I said, what? Does it still exist? I said, the book, we showed the book. They said, yeah. I said, hell no, I'm fine. And I went home, and a week passed, Then the second week came and I got a call from an old mentor, someone who knew me and worked with me, who happened to be in the same organization. He said, young man, can we have coffee? I said, okay. He said, listen, that person that called you, it was a real call. I need you to consider it. And I said, why me? He says, since you left us, I've been watching what you've been doing. And I think you can contribute here. I said, okay. But I'm not sure about the organization because this is an ICU. This is bound to fail. It's never going to work. Who actually, because that time there was Facebook, Google, everything, right? I think that was around 2017 when they were speaking to me. Remember, I came out of e-commerce, so I understood this space. I was like, you guys are bound to fail. It's never going to work. So what is it that you want to do? He says, I've got grand plans. I'll share once you say yes. I said, okay, let me go home. Spoke to my wife, and she said, maybe let's buy him, not the job. Very important. People leave managers, right? Not companies. I've also left companies that are great because of managers. Said, let's buy him. Said, okay, I trust him. Actually, if I F it up, he'll probably find something else for me because it's too high of a level. Chances are, even if it doesn't work out, I'm going to get something. But I think the consideration for me it was the level. I didn't plan for it, and I think I was about to turn 37, 38 then. I was like, too early. Maybe 40 plus, right? And I eventually said, okay, let me try it. And that's one huge challenge, turning an organization that is almost on the cliff because of the product that you're selling. Because remember, no one advertised in print anymore. Remember all the print, newspapers that have disappeared over the years? News 24 has been struggling for years to transition to digital. So I said, okay, this is one huge challenge for me. Let me pick it up and then see. Right, so I made the call. I joined them in 2018. Yellow Pages was a subsidiary of Telkom, 40% owned by the private equity guys in Sandton, 60% by Telkom. At its peak, it made 1.4 billion rands. And can you guess the profitability was 60%? No loans, few assets, just print advertising revenue. But people are migrating digitally. Everyone was creating a website, running search engine on Facebook Marketplace, and. So they were migrating away from this product. But I asked myself, why are these private equity guys here? And I said to them, the first thing I learned was they're sitting on year 4 of their investment cycle, they're exiting next year. So they're saying, just dish out dividends every quarter so that we make our last money. But Telkom had a different view. They wanted to aggregate this business with other small businesses, right? Or other units that are looking after small businesses and create one huge BU. So my job was to create a new product, which is a digital product, and pivot it quite quickly before you get to zero. The private equity guys were saying, let's run it to the last cent. Now, this business employs 500 people when I got there. 500 people. It was sitting at 800 million in revenue. And I find myself at Exco, Group Exco, Nogal. Not my own Exco. I had my own Exco and my own board. First time I sat on a board, I tell you, my first board meeting, I almost pee on myself. Because I was like, shit, what's going to happen today, right? And you're sitting with all of these guys and some guys that I've actually seen that were CEOs of other businesses. I can't mention the names, some of the banks. And I'm like, is he sitting on this board? I'm like, fuck. I got to make sure that I get it right. So it was really hard, right? And you go through that internal. It's an internal struggle, right? You have to show up, and sometimes you feel like you have to show up differently. You always forget that these guys appointed you for a reason because they think you can do it. You completely forget that. And sometimes you can fail because of your own anxieties as well and not trusting yourself and backing yourself. Now, here comes the first decision that I had to make. So remember, 500 people, 800 million, did the analysis, looked at where the market is going, and I was like, this business is going to be 150 million in 5 years. It cannot afford to have 500 people. It can afford to have 80. So I reached out to all the Yellow Pages businesses across the world because we're not the only ones. Every country, the US, Canada. So the US had gone to Yelp. The UK had also gone to Yelp, which was an online platform. The Australians were still caught. The Kenyans were doing both. We were trying to do both here. And I think it was about 200 countries that were running the yellow pages. It was a big business. I don't know who started it. I think it was somewhere in Scotland in 15 whatever. But everyone told me the same story. Good luck. If you figured it out, please let us know. Right? So I went to the board. Before this decision, actually, I had to get rid of 2 people who were sitting on my exco, unfortunately. And it's one of the lessons I learned much earlier on, right? Is that you're either with me or you're not. Because when you have to devise strategy in leadership and actually execute it, you also look for people that will support you in executing that strategy. Sometimes they might not believe in it, but they might believe that we've got something here that we can work with, because it's not static, it's not cast in stone, it iterates, that strategy. And when you work with a group of people, you quickly figure out who's with you or not with you. Quickly went to the board and I said, listen, I think 2 guys are not with me, they're plotting. Right? They're plotting for my fall. And my fall is going to be the business's fall. And you guys are going to lose money. So here's my proposal. Let's let them go. They're like, do you have people to hire to replace them? I said, hell no, I don't know. I don't have it yet, but I'll find people. I'd rather take toxic people out of the team right now, and then we go and find people. Because below those people, I looked at the teams, they were solid. You could see if this one goes on leave, it runs. So therefore, I'm sorry, I know I said you must make sure that it runs, right? But it also puts you in an awkward position, a vulnerable position that if you're not playing the ball, they can take you out, right? But if you are playing the ball, they'll move you into something else to fix as well, and much bigger roles, in essence. So I exited them. The second one was to tell the board that we need 80 people because it's going to be 150 million. They said, so how cash is going to look like? We're going to really need banks to support us. I said, we're never going to need banks to support us if we do this. So in essence, 60% of the people had to go, and it's people with faces, families, right? And some of them had to look them in the eye and say, it's happening. It was either that or we don't have a business in 2 years, actually. That year that had started, I'd predicted that we're probably going to break even, and then the second year we're going to go into a loss-making situation. And the board is going to have to go into the shareholder and fund the business to stay afloat. Now you have to make those calls as a commercial person in their heart. You're talking to individuals, people with families. So I had to look everyone in the eye and say, we're saving the business. Needless to say, a couple of months ago, one of the ladies that was with me there, now as part of the wider Telkom group, she came to me and said, thank you. I said, for what? She says, in 2019, you came to everyone and said, we've got to do this to sustain the business. And I was fortunately one of those people that survived, and I'm still here. And I'm doing something completely different, and I've changed roles at least 3 times, and I'm happy. Yeah, that sort of, struck me. And I was actually emotional that time. When I walked away, I started, I had a little bit of a tear because I'd impacted someone positively. The other guy had taken, what we call VSPs? Yeah. They usually start with VSPs, right? He had said, tick yes. But I had this role and capability as key for the future. He was actually doing digital fulfillment. He was building websites and running SEO for small businesses. And I said, but this is what we want. Why is this guy given an opportunity? I said, no, well, the labor laws we have to open it to everyone. So I called Godfrey and said, let's find Godfrey, come to my office. I think he was older than me, right? I was like, sit here. He's like, listen, just tell me more about your family situation and maybe why you've opted to take a VSP. He said, boss, my daughter is in matric. She's going to varsity next year. And I don't think I earn enough to put it through. So I did the calculation. I said, this package is going to set me. I said, but Godfrey, what happens after year 3? No, don't worry, I'll figure out, I'll find something. I said, no, go think about it. So I gave him a pep talk. I think we went on for 2 hours. He went home and he reversed his decision. I also met him as well. He's head of search. Now for one of the agencies, he actually left us. And I said, that bugger, we gave you something and he left us. Because now he's working for Accenture and now he's contracting back to us. And then I met him, I'm like, what the hell are you doing here? He says, well, you gave me the opportunity, look at me. I was like, okay, that also feels good, right? Because you had impacted someone positively as well, right? And actually saved him from himself. He's actually early 50s, which is something that's not normal in the digital space because it's usually you guys that are doing those kind of jobs, but he's there and doing well, right? So eventually we turned this business into what is now known as the YEP marketplace, which is still existing, and especially for plumbers and electricians. So it's a product that we've plugged in now. We literally, whoever, we actually didn't go 60% eventually, because I think we stopped at 50. The other 10, we did it the year after, which was also voluntary for the entire group. So when I looked at it, it was 60%. But we're sitting with plus minus 60 people in that business, largely digital, and it's called YEP. So we managed to do something and turn this and pivot it around. However, a few years ago, I think it's year 4 now, then I was given another opportunity, right? So after YEP, we started SMB, so I was the CEO of that business. And then the previous group CEO said, listen, my time is up, I'm out. And I said, shit, this is the guy I bought. That's why I'm here. If he's leaving, what am I going to do? Because I'll bring someone else, and whoever comes in usually clears the deck, right? I'm bringing new people. And I said, I'm out. So I figured out, went to the market quite quickly, and I got myself a job, which is also fortunate, right? Because not everyone, right, can go into the market. And there's a reason for that. If you chase building a skill and depth of experience, then you have something that no one can take away from you. But you also have something that's marketable. Now, when you leave school, someone asks you, what are you good at? You say, I'm an actuary scientist, I'm an accountant, or I'm a doctor. 10 years after, someone asks you the same question, what are you good at? You can't say I'm an accountant. That's when you qualified. What skill have you built in that first 10 years that people can know you for? You could be a good damn salesperson and everyone is going to know. Now, I don't know who works in the IT space. The top account managers in South Africa, they are known in your own industry. When you're looking for an account manager, you go to that guy. He's known for that. He can sell anything to anyone, right? Marketing space, there's top CMOs. I'm sure you know them, right? They didn't just get there, they've built a skill. They're known for that. You have to do that. Because whenever you have an opportunity of getting into the market and doing something different, someone is going to grab you because it's something that's wanted by the market as well. Even if it's not, someone is going to want what you've built. So don't chase a salary increase. I've interviewed people, qualified accountants, 5 years later, 30 years, getting paid a couple of millions with zero experience. When I look at what you've done, you've been reconciling accounts, my friend. We're looking for an executive or a senior manager. It's leadership. It's different. It's not doing it yourself anymore. It's managing a team that does it for you. It's creating that environment for that team to prosper. So don't chase the money. I think earlier on I did that as well, and I quickly realized, whoa, I'm going to have a problem here. Let me stick here. So I'll take a job for 2 to 3 years, and I'll make sure in that 3 years I've learned everything I could have. And I'm going to be known for that. So I can say, I know financial services, I know insurance because I learned it at Santam. I know banking because I learned it at Standard Bank. And I know how to sell these things online because that's what I was running, right? And someone said, we need a business that needs to be pivoted towards digital. Let's find someone who understands this. And that's how you match yourself. So I was leaving because I got another gig in another petrol company, funny enough. And it was Sasol, because it's also known. And I was like, I'd be out of the industry for a good 10 years. But they said, no, what you did when you were there, we still know about it, right? Because I was in retail. However, Sarama got appointed and called me and said, listen, dude, stay. Here's the mobile business. I said, okay, now we're talking, right? And I made the call to stay. And I knew my credibility is going to be in tatters. Because now it said yes, and now I'm changing. And I said, I'm only going to do this once. It's never going to happen again. Because if it does, then your credibility will never recover. So I called them, sat them down and said, I'm making this call to stay. I think it's the best thing for my family. And I think it was. Because whenever I change jobs, I move with family. That's what they told me. So when you change jobs, you also change jobs because your first 6 months is stressful. We can see it in your eyes. You become grumpy in the house. You sweat everyone. Maybe you drink a little bit more, right? You spend less time with friends. And that's the stress that you go through. So I decided to stay. And then I was given an opportunity to lead Telkom Mobile, which is a business that was also growing during COVID. So when I took over it was actually on a free fall as well. Because now during COVID, everyone was on data, right, streaming. Now all of a sudden, they're not. So I had to figure out what to do with it as well and find a growth path. That's also an experience. And today that business has 25 million customers. So when I joined it had 16. Once again, I can claim that as mine. And I said to everyone in my team, you claim it as yours as well because we've built this together, right? And we've passed 1.5 million homes. And I think for me, if we were to look at everything that I've done, because I think 20 years probably in leadership positions, there's a couple of things that I've actually learned and that I thought I'll share with you guys. Is that leadership can be developed. I don't believe that everyone is born to be a leader, right? If you're a school rugby captain, great for you. We do know what has happened to some of them after high school, right? And I think once you're given that opportunity to lead and it comes naturally to you, great for you. But if it doesn't, you can develop it. And those that it comes natural, you have to develop it again to make sure that you become a good leader as well. If you want to be one, it's not a beauty contest or a popularity contest. People won't like you when you become one. And I mean it, colleagues. People don't like you because you have to make the tough decisions. I've had to let go of people to think they like me. I have to turn down job offers to think they've liked me. I had to swear to people as well just to get them to do their job. They're not going to like you. Even much more difficult when you work with your friend as well. It makes it much more difficult, but it can be done. You can actually put your friend in their own place and make sure that they do their job. Don't try and have split personalities. And you learn this in different organizations. When you see the CEO, hard guys, always swearing, and you think everyone has to be like that to become leader. No, it doesn't work that way. I tried it, and every time I went home, I was exhausted because I was becoming someone that I'm not. Be yourself. Yeah, there's a culture in an organization that you have to fit into. And if you're comfortable with it, stay. If you're not, leave, because it's going to change you. But be yourself. The nice guys make it. The hard guys make it. The guys that are a-holes don't make it. That's fact. Be yourself. Also be a ruthless editor of what you consume, because it shapes how you feel in a particular day. If you listen to talk radio every day, you think the country is going down the drain. Because in talk radio, all we do, we bitch and moan. And that's it. If you've got friends that are negative around you, you're always going to be negative as well. And I've said to someone, sometimes try not to complain. Because initially we think it's a behavior, right? And over time it becomes your personality. And you are known as that guy who complains. No one wants that guy around them. So just make sure that you don't. I think what it actually means for you is always take the hospital pass. So Yellow Pages was a hospital pass for me. I took it. And I think it's the hard jobs that will build you, not the soft ones or the easy ones, right? Make sure that you run. Whenever you've been given an opportunity, run with it and do it as best as you can. Well, let's say to people, make a decision. You'll be fired for doing nothing. They will listen to you if you've done something. And you will survive. Because what's required of you is to take data and insights and make business decisions. Sometimes you'll fail, but fail fast, iterate, and move on. And that's how you build success, right? That's how you build success. Make sure that you chase the skill, and I think I've shared that with you guys. And I've also shared that don't chase the check, chase the skill. Make sure you build something that you'll be known for. Seek commercial roles if you want to get to the top. Doesn't mean you won't if you don't have them. We've seen CFOs becoming CEOs. We've seen IT leads becoming CEOs. So So Charles, MTN, was Group CIO. He became CEO for the South Africa business. Doesn't mean that you can't. But when you have commercial roles, which is P&L, you stand a better chance. And I always say the distinction between the functional specialist roles that require you to be a super chartered accountant, it will get you to CFO. Usually the guy who's a CFO is at 40, he's not going to move for the next 20 years. So your chances are of moving within the same organization become less. The guy who heads up another functional area, actuary scientist at 25, he is now the chief of product at 40, he's not going to move. The rest of the business is commercial. Everyone is moving. You always have a chance of picking up a new skill, a new challenge. Hospital passes, build, become successful, fail, because you will learn from that and you'll use those to actually succeed. And I've seen it many times. Success is never a good teacher. And I always ask my team, whenever we're doing well, do we actually know why we're doing well? You'd be surprised by an answer. Because in most cases, we never think about it. When we're doing badly, everyone knows. Because everyone has to have a story as to why we're doing badly, right? You show up in that Monday meeting and say, boss, we didn't make the targets last week because the network was down for 5 hours. What did you do about it? Well, I called the network guy. And then? I'm still waiting for him. No, dude. You must own it, right? But success will teach you a lot of things because you have to call the network guy, you have to find out what's happening, when are they going to close it, and why did it happen? Can it not happen again? And that preps you up, right, for the future, because then you can anticipate and be able to project if you're going to succeed or not. Because if they've got a mobile tower in an area where there's always breakages and they're stealing batteries, and it takes them 3 weeks to replace, and you're making revenue out of it, you will know that it's going to happen, and you're not going to make plans to make money there. You're going to make plans to make money elsewhere. Right? That's what failure teaches you. And I see these things all the time. And now maybe, to close it off, those guys that said they know what it actually costs, I think I still remember a couple of them. Could you potentially maybe share with the wider group as to your own thoughts? May I? Because I saw your hand was up for a while, right? And I think just before you go in, is that, colleagues, it's doable. And I've done it as well, right? It has cost me, right? Maybe from a family perspective, but I think I still have a family standing, and they're still supportive of me. So it can be done, and we can learn from others, and think that's how we grow as human beings.
Okay, so my name is Razan Vista. I am a chartered accountant, so I think it was meant to be that I had to be in this session, especially the transition from finance into commercial is exactly the trajectory that I'm currently looking at.
Yeah.
So for me, I think what it takes to be a CEO is, of course, a commitment to and having a vision.
Yes.
And we heard it throughout the day, it's about the purpose. So why are you doing it and how do you get other people on that journey to buy into that purpose and to execute on that strategy and on that vision. I would assume it takes a lot of personal sacrifice as well. They say there's a reason why hot air rises. Because when you're sitting at the top, you do get a lot of that. When I think about it, it's also what it takes is to be someone, I would say, selfless. Because you're investing in other people, and it's the other people that are going to help you realize your purpose and your vision. So I would say a lot of sacrifice, selflessness, but also I would think pride in yourself, and for that personal sense of achievement as well.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Good afternoon. My name is Levo Majia from Crystal Partners Innovations, an investment advisory firm. So mine is more from a personal growth perspective, given that you've had to make a lot of hard decisions in your youth. So if you had to mentor your 30-year-old self who is about to move to Cape Town with your whole family and in between the different corporates, what would you spend most of the conversation talking about?
Sure. That's a difficult one. Should I answer now? Or
please go ahead.
Okay. I think for me it will be a lot more conversations with family. Family, right? I'd already gotten married that time and had my first baby, actually just 3 months after we had to move, right? I don't think I spent enough time with them to actually explain. They literally had to follow me. And I think that part in my career was the most difficult one. I think I almost lost everyone that time. I'd spend a lot more time with the people that are supportive of me. So you don't have to have a wife, you've got a sister, you've got a mother, but people that can listen to you and fully understand what this actually means, because it can be disruptive to your personal life. And when it does get disruptive, you need to anchor yourself with something, either friends, wife, girlfriend or boyfriend, your mother. You have to anchor yourself because it gets cold out there. And you're only there for 8 hours. When you leave work at 5, who do you go back to? And I think I'll spend a lot more time cultivating that social ecosystem to make sure that I'm well supported all the time. Because when you're not supported, you're going to break. And I've seen a lot of people actually having a nervous breakdown, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah.
Hi, Lunga. So I'm Gloria Gobeka. I currently work for Cisco Technology. So my question, I actually got it from someone else, is what is the one question somebody could have asked you that you really wanted to give a message to? So what is the one question someone could have asked you and you really wanted to impart your knowledge with?
Yeah, it's something most people never ask, right? Do you really want to become a CEO? I think everyone always says yes, but I think for most people, no, actually. And no is actually quite a good answer because, you spoke about purpose, right? And a lot of people only figure out their purpose at around 45 because you're also close to retirement. You're really trying to figure out, I'm tired. I've been doing this and I don't like it. What can I do that will fulfill me? And in most instances, we're always chasing the check for the right reasons because you need to make sure that at least you're secured financially. But if you ask yourself, what is it that I really like? And if you can find a way of doing that and still make money. There's a book called Ikegai, based on the Japanese, and if you read it, right, sometimes it sounds far-fetched, but I've actually seen these people that are really fulfilled in life. And, how much money do you want to make? Right? It's relative because the more you want to get more, and what really fulfills you is completely different, right? And if I may, guys, to the last two speakers, I think these are really pointed questions, right? These two are really pointed because they're outside of the norm, and you guys get prizes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. My name is Shiwe.
Yeah.
I come from the South African Youth Movement Association, the executive chair there.
Yeah.
I'm actually about to answer your question, but I was
Go ahead,
taken by the book that you just read. It actually says that before you become a millionaire, then someone else will be a millionaire.
Yeah.
That's what I think I've learned from that book that you just quoted right now. To answer your question briefly, I've interacted and interfaced with quite a number of CEOs.
Yeah.
And I think what it takes for me is having the courage of your own conviction. Living your own truth, irrespective of the consequences.
Absolutely.
Story. I can imagine if you never made that decision of cutting down all those employees, a lot of it would have went down with your profile to say that you have failed your pages.
Yeah.
So I think having that courage of making sure that you take the decision, even though, and I think you believe in yourself that much. So I think briefly having that courage of own conviction for me stands out. Thank you.
Africa's creative economy is projected to be worth $200 billion by 2030, and South Africa is coming strongly in terms of virtual gaming and esports. I know that Telkom is already playing in VS gaming, but how can it move beyond connectivity and into more improving infrastructure and upskilling the future creators so that these young gamers and creators can create sustainable industries by 2030?
Okay, that's a loaded question. No, that's fine. Really, thank you for that, right? He's from DNA, he's one of our agencies as well. Good guys, right? They're doing something absolute. Actually, if we can get a lot more DNAs, right, out there, because it's a small, medium enterprise, and we gave them opportunities to make sure that they can actually provide services to us. If you really think about it, we actually have a youth dividend in the continent, right? There's a lot more young people than older people. And I think a lot more organizations have to invest in making sure to upskill a lot more of them to match what's also needed in the market so that we can create a lot more small businesses. But I think there's opportunities on infrastructure. I think AI is going to bring a lot more. It will probably create a lot more millionaires than the old IT bubble, right, did. However, we have to invest in infrastructure. So Telkom is at the forefront. So we terminate about 3 cables into South Africa to create broadband capacity, because that's how you connect into the internet, right? And there's another one in East Africa and another one in West Africa. But if I look at broadband capacity for the entire continent, it's less than that of Brazil. And Brazil is one country. They have a lot more broadband capacity than we have as the entire continent. So there's a lot of money that's going into it. Fortunately, in Nigeria, data centers, a lot more cables being terminated in the country, right? There's a lot more money coming into upskilling people on AI. The nice thing with AI is you can actually upskill yourself. I foresee a lot more businesses being created by young people in the continent. However, you're right, we need the infrastructure. So right now, outside of South Africa, it's a lot of mobile infrastructure. And mobile, as much as you can get to 5G, is never going to be as stable as fiber to participate in this economy that's becoming much more digital, right? But great question and insights. The last 2 speakers, will give it to them, and then the prizes are over. Otherwise,
okay. We have
this guy,
7 minutes.
He gets,
okay,
and that guy from DNA as well.
Right.
Thank you very much. We're over with prizes there. Yeah?
Okay, I think we've got a question here. Yeah?
Yeah.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Mr. CEO, for the presentation. My name is Lunga. I'm a student at UJ, and I just want you to paint me a picture as the CEO of Telkom. I know you are partially as state-owned.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I want to find out, there's the board, right?
Mm.
And there's also obviously the bureaucratic side and political side of it. I want you to paint me a picture of how does a CEO basically stand on your ground? Maybe there's a 5-year vision that we probably had for Telkom, then JG, and of course I decided to do cabinet reshuffle, and the Minister of State Enterprise is now someone else.
Yes.
Comes in and is like, I don't want this, let's change it. And you know the vision, you've calculated it, you've done the analysis, and you have the skills for it. The guy came in, he has a political voice, like, nah. So tell me, how do you stand your ground, and how do you navigate, the board? And
That's a good question. Eh? So maybe just before I answer your question, I just also want to share something that someone shared with me. I was somewhere in Southeast Asia, right? And I was thanking the delegation for hosting us. And I had my hand on my pocket, right? Because I think it's just normal in our country to do this, right? And one of our board members, who's South Korean, pulled me aside after and said, listen, in the East, when you do this, it's a sign of arrogance. So now I've been struggling the whole day trying to, what do I do with my hands, right? But it also talks about how you show up, right? Your posture and everything is everything in leadership as well, because it tells people, right, who you are. And one last one, right? I was interviewing a guy with a psychologist next to me. He walked into a room, he greeted everyone but me, and I was the line manager, right? Because I was wearing jeans, it was a Friday, right? And a yellow t-shirt, I was still at MTL at that time, and sneakers. The others were wearing formal. So he assumed that I'm not the line manager. And then when he was told that I'm the line manager, and throughout the interview, I was talking to these 2 guys, and he forgot about me. Then when he was told that I'm the line manager, he shifted his attention to me. And I loved him, right? And then after the interview panel, the psychologist said, you don't want to take that guy. I can see that you fell for his trap. He's gonna break your team. And he did a report to tell me he's not the right personality, purely because of what he did. Coming back to your question, you are absolutely right, my guy. When you work for a state-owned company, there's interference from the politicians, right? They actually even appoint the board. So when I got that first call to join Telkom, I said no. And one of the questions I asked, you guys are partially owned by the state. So what's the story? And I was assured that Telkom operates purely on a private basis because they are listed on the JSE. So the board is independent and it's not appointed by government, including the chair. So therefore there's less interference. They're not on PFMA. They operate like any private company. Come, experience, and then if you feel like we are, leave. And personally, if it was like that, I would never have been there, to be honest with you, because it's a difficult space. When you have interference from different political people who don't really grasp what you guys are trying to do, or maybe they do, but from their political party, they've got a different stance. So I won't put myself personally to work for that. And I'll probably only do it when I'm closer to 60 to give back to my country. Thank you. Because we make choices, right? And it's mine. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kalanka Pillay, and I'm a people and culture partner from IOCO. And
nice.
This is the IT and FT.
Yeah.
My question to you is, how do you identify mentors? Because you mentioned throughout your career journey, there's somebody that always had belief in you.
Yeah.
So how do you identify who is a mentor that will challenge and stretch you as opposed to who will support you?
Yeah, first thing you have to do is to look at synergies, right? Right. That, what do they call it? Chemistry. When you see it for the first time, if it's not there, it's not there. Otherwise, it's just going to be a teacher, learner, and you don't want that, especially from a mentor. You want someone that you can really connect with. And there's differences between mentors and coaches, right? And mentor, you want someone who's done it, who can probably advise you how to do it, but you don't follow the same script. But they help you go through, right, all the barriers. And then a coach is someone who then works with you in terms of how can you become better as you, right, as an individual. So always look for chemistry and look for someone who actually really, so organizations will do this, mentor everyone, right, and then force people to become mentors, and they're like, it's a tick boss, I'm going to do this. You will see that and just walk away from it. Rather find someone outside who can actually help you. Find people who can help you solve the problems you want to solve as well. And sometimes they come to me and say, listen, I want to be a director, help me get there. I said, dude, I think you're asking the wrong question. Right? And then we go through the process, and then they fully understand what it actually takes, and maybe what they were trying to solve for, which is more money, you don't get it only as a director, because there's people who earn exactly the same salary as the director in the same organization. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Bella. I am from First Rand in the compliance space, but more so project management space and everything. Thank you very much for a great presentation, Lunga, as well. My question goes to you. I've noticed with your career journey, you've been in a position where you had to take over new teams, right?
Yeah.
So how do you go about balancing what your strategic goal is and what you want to achieve? And also considering the team that you're in and the as-is that already exists, whether it be the culture, the way of work, how do you balance that as a leader?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost is you want to achieve success, right? So when you walk in, you have to figure out how does success look like for this team. And sometimes you've got KPIs. It's that simple. So how do we meet our KPIs as a team? How do we create value for the organization? And then you say, okay, what is our strategy in doing that? Usually there's a strategy for the organization. So your strategy is only a translation of what the company wants to achieve. You translate that into your area and say, this is our plan, which is your strategy. And then you look at everyone and say, do I have the right people to do that? Oh yeah, maybe. And it takes you time if it's new, right? Because it's 6 months to a year, and then you're starting to figure out everyone who does what. You'll see which ones are passengers and which ones are driving the train, right? And I think for me, what you really want to work with, you share and be clear, crystal clear to the team, what's the plan? What are we trying to do? Who has to do what? And workshop that as much as you can, right, with your team. Once they get that, then it's a question of how do I create a cohesive team to deliver towards this goal? Now that requires you dealing with different personalities that have to feed off each other. So sometimes go to HR and you would know there's a battery of tests that we do to figure out people's personalities. It's not about changing people's personalities. It's about understanding what each team member is bringing to the table. Once you've established that everyone wants to be here and contribute, those that don't want to be here, you put them on a box. I call box number 2. You work with everyone on box 1. You will deal with box 2 later. That's hard as a leader because you know this one is going to go. And you actually give them time, 3 months. If they don't change, you're like, okay, it's not going to happen, right? And you have to make those calls because there will be the poison that will create the toxic culture. You can be clear as mad in terms of what you want to do. You can have the best team. But if it's not cohesive enough, there's one guy who's toxic, it's not going to work. I promise you. And that's what you have to focus on, team cohesion.
Guys, we are out of time. Lunga's got a flight to catch. So, ladies and gentlemen, Lunga Siyo.
Thank you.
I didn't even have time to wrap up the conversation because I wanted to give everybody a chance, but it's perfect. And Lunga, thank you for today. Thank you for your time. I don't know if you can they catch you on LinkedIn?
Yeah, you can catch me on LinkedIn. And I mean, these days, I think we respond quite quickly. I used to do it personally, but I'm just fortunate that we have a team now. because they always watch what you say. You don't want to say controversial things out there, some things. Because some people, they think I'm a contact center as well, right? So you've got a telco problem, please help me. I do help, believe me. I watch all of those because it actually gives me the pulse of the organization. Because sometimes everyone is telling us that we're doing well, and I say we're not, because people talk to me. But if I can leave you with anything, just make sure that you always remain yourself, right? Remain yourself, work on personalities, we'll work on team cohesiveness. It's about personality, because that translates into culture. I usually hire for personality more than competence at certain roles. There are technical roles where I need full competence, but I know I'm dealing with I usually call it brilliant X. He's gonna come, leave blood on the floor, but I usually have an exit plan for him because I don't want him longer, because he's really gonna be toxic. But work on really pulling people that have the right personality. And personality is easy. It's someone who wants to be here and contribute. Thank you.
That was really a masterclass, wasn't it? All right, thank you, everybody.
Nice, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.